it all over, everybody shake hands, let's forgive and reconcile, and or there is this knee-jerk response of, well, the perpetrators of violence are have irredeemably lost the image of God and therefore can be treated in any brutal way we like. It's the unwillingness, I think, of Christians to engage the full spectrum of these things, because they're going to be really hard, and therefore it's demanding and difficult, and we should be stuck in and expect that. My experience in the developing world, especially in a theology that was arguably exploited from North America, that tidies up sexual violence within the church and within families, does not serve righteousness or peace. And so, again, you also want to deal with the perpetrator of sex crimes as a monster that is incapable of being loved and for us to wish well for. So these are the extremes that I think we need to avoid.
Just to give you an example, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, if you really want peace after conflict, you need transformation of both the victim and the perpetrator. And in order for that to happen, forgiveness is essential. Because for the person who's been victimized, that forgiveness frees them from the bitterness and the anger that we would call hell. And the forgiveness also frees the person who's been the perpetrator. And I'll give the example of Stephen when he said, Lord, forgive them. And Paul met Jesus on the way to Damascus, and the murderer was turned into one of the greatest theologians of all time. So the transformation can occur, I believe, only if forgiveness happens. Example, in Rwanda, overnight, over the radio, 800,000 people were killed in a very short time because hate was explained why we had to do these things. Hate was the motive. In the Congo right now, there's one couple who have prepared modules that they put on the radio, and their expectation is that 10 men will get together, listening to the program, and study the word. And they thought maybe a few hundred might happen to change their lives. Well, it's affected the lives of 10,000 men. And they have calls because in Congo, even if you can't eat with that book, and they'll call and say, I am so sorry for what I've done, and they come to know the Lord, and the lives are transformed. They may not be able to make it up to the women or the women they raped, so they have a whole new sense of what they are created to do, protect and provide for them. So that's where transformation can come, but it's not in grace.
I think this might be because this conversation is reminding me of it. It's reminding me of an article that Haugen wrote. For those of you who aren't familiar, Haugen was one of the student leaders that led the Tiananmen Square protest in 1989. She was in fact the leader of that movement that saw hundreds of thousands of people on the square, and then eventually the Chinese government sending in tanks to massacre. Very well publicized. And she managed to escape, and she went to Hong Kong and then Paris and then Princeton, where she actually finished a degree there. And in the States, she became Christian. And she wrote an article, I think it was either in Newsweek or Time, in which she argued that the only way forward for China was forgiveness. That the only way forward for China was for people to find the motivation and the grace to forgive the way that a person can only really find after having been forgiven the way that Jesus forgives. So,
but it is contested, that very letter, right? I just came maybe a month ago from Hong Kong. I talked about forgiveness in some lectures multiple times. Her example has been raised, and the question for Hong Kong folks is, well, does that let the Chinese official off the hook? What implications does the act of forgiveness, which I certainly myself would advocate, what implication does it have? Does it have for questions of impunity or actions and also political engagement there? And I think those are really very important things to consider, to take them seriously, rather than thinking that by the act of forgiveness, we kind of resolve the issue. That's where the action stops, right? I think that's partly what you were trying to emphasize in your thing, which I think is quite correct.
There's always just this great trickiness to speaking to what others should forgive. Right? We most powerfully can and authoritatively can speak to what it is we are choosing to forgive ourselves, but it's always a very difficult manner for one person to call forth forgiveness and another to use a third party.
On that note of wise caution, I'm afraid we're out of time. It's all our conversation. Join me in thanking our guests.
Without all that curly hair. How are you?
That could be close. She wants
So we start reading.
I didn't know so much about it,
I've always believed that, given their assertions that forgiveness and repentance were both necessary, but as the other two said, what their perspective over time from teachings is clear, how does the Holy Spirit fit in that? You know, you're my
Right. Hi, Alice. I'm so glad to see you. And this Congo person? Well, we're going to find the light and praise God and praise our family. That's what gives Christianity a bad name. And that keeps telling me that exclusion and embrace. Yeah. No, I don't. I'm sure that's her experience. I react to this idea of Jesus somehow being this magic wand for everybody. I think it's heuristic of Christian American press. I think it's heuristic of Christianity. I think that they have any cornerstone on people of faith, of all different traditions, and no tradition at all, can do this work just as effectively. And that's the part of this that I find Yeah, and I love this conference. I look forward to every year.
Go to Rosenwald to hear Fred.
Oh, is he doing it right now?
Noon.
Okay, anyway.
I'll see you there. Okay.
So, okay. So anyway, we raised our family in South Africa. We moved over before the transition and we're very involved in the WC. And lived at Ward 221. We're involved in a lot of kids organizing work before. And then lived there with our family. And then both of us have worked in Rwanda. So, yeah, and I still work in Africa. Anyway, I don't need to know her. I react viscerally to they found Jesus. I just find that.
That's right.
Actually filled. What's that? Yeah. It's a dividing thing, because why should it matter if you're Jewish or Muslim or Christian? Yeah, yeah, and it's not what this is about. This is about the human experience of being human. Yeah. Yeah.
Just because we say praise Jesus or
Yeah, it's our language, it's our value, and it's precious to us, it's precious to me. But it's already, it's like saying that English is somehow a better language than French.
but I was going to say that the key is the way to combat. But two, what I think is more is really
Yes, yes, it's possible.
it is in some ways manipulated.
It is, and then it just with us as human, and yet was